So let's get started, ladies. Good morning. Again, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. It is an honor to share with you today three very important skills that you need in order to gain leverage and or keep sharp in order to go and grow your business. Um, what I found in the journey from working for somebody to working for myself is there's a different skill set that you have to tap into, and that it's a journey going from CEO once you've had the business to a business leader, because whether you want to or not, business leader does come with that. So thank you for showing up for yourself, and thanks to DWEN for hosting. Let's get going. Some additional housekeeping. Please know that your presence and your voice matters. There will be a few interactive parts, and so I look forward to your engagement. And then we'll have time at the end for question and answer. But please do not hesitate to use the chat and or if you would like to come off mute, you can. But don't hesitate to use the chat as well. So who am I? Michaela did a wonderful introduction. A couple of other things. I am, as she mentioned, a former educator and administrator who is now a business owner who still educates, who still reaches multiple generations. I have coached and led and trained diverse groups and industries from tech to arts and entertainment to manufacturing, to certain things in the nonprofit sector as well. And I am an ambivert who loves movies, and I love to travel. So hopefully I'm amongst good company and somebody can relate here. But enough about me. I want to know about you, because this is about you today. So if you could, for me in the chat, type, who are you? What's your role? Are you a current CEO or founder, or are you an aspiring CEO or founder? Do you support CEOs and or founders? Who are you? What's your role here today? Okay, awesome. And I salute all of you. I know the hard work it takes. Awesome. Founder, president, CEO. Okay, awesome. Awesome. And I see there's some who may be, you may be currently running a one-woman show, or you may have a team. Awesome. Congrats, Michaela. You made it 3 years. Awesome. And welcome, Esther. Awesome to see all those things. Hats off to you too. Awesome. Okay. Now, because we are more than just our roles, please share with myself and with others, what's another way you identify yourself? Sometimes we can get caught up in the hustle bustle of starting the thing and founding the thing and moving and shaking and moving. But that's not all of who we are. And we have to remind ourselves we're more than just our jobs, we're more than just our professions. What's another way you identify yourself? Awesome. Artist here. A mom. Awesome. Social contributor. Nice, Denise. Extrovert. Awesome, Kate. A nerd. As the year much good company. Nerds help the world go round. Mom, wife, girlfriend, thought partner. Awesome. Awesome. Retired looking for new opportunities. Awesome. So you're in a smooth transition, Sonia. Okay. Advocate for teenage girls. Awesome. All wonderful roles. Just a reminder that, again, you're more than just your role, right? And all of those things contribute and matter in your journey as you transition from CEO to business leader. Because it's important to take a pause for the cause sometimes in the midst of all the roles you wear, and the hats that you wear and the roles that you play. It's important to exercise something that I call a mindful moment. So I would love for us to take 30 seconds just to be present. If you can with me, just breathe in and then breathe out. Sometimes we have to remember that. Breathe in and breathe out. Releases the stress, calms worries. And then I'd like for you to think of a place that you're most relaxed in and that you enjoy yourself in that relaxation. Get that place in mind. How do you feel? More rhetorical than anything, and you can share if you would like to. What are you doing in that place? Who are you with in that place? And I want you to think about the next time you're going to get to that place and schedule it and commit to making that happen. It's extremely important to again to pause for the cause sometimes. And that right now that cause is you and making sure that you're good so that you can be an effective, be a healthy, um, and a thriving business leader. Okay. Awesome. When you're in a flow with others. Right. And all of those moments are different for us. Those places are different. Sometimes it's with people, sometimes it's by yourself. Sometimes it's a combination of the two. But make it a point to schedule that time and commit to making that happen for yourself. A quick overview, what we'll cover through the next 30 minutes. When we'll get an understanding of the what and why soft skills for business leaders. You may have heard human skills, you may have heard essential skills, you may have heard people skills. They're all pretty much the same thing, but it's important to have it just as a human, but also as a business leader. We'll also get into understanding of agility, adaptability, and active listening. So, those are our three big skills for this time. And then finally, an understanding of how to apply those three, how to apply agility, adaptability, and active listening in their roles. Right. Thank you for sharing. Why does this matter? Um, a couple of reasons why it matters. First, leading comes with a lot. If you look at the lady in the photo, they're different hats. They're different hats where someone shared. They're a mom, you're a wife, you're an advocate, you're a business leader, you're an astrophysicist. That's awesome. It comes with so many different hats. And so this matters more than we think because whether it's just you and or your team, there are different things that you have to navigate. Secondly, if you are a business owner and a founder, running a business requires that you use these things on a daily basis and that you tap into your different skill sets. You might be salesperson, marketing director, you might be the person that actually delivers the service, networker. It requires that you tap into those different skill sets for the different sub roles that are within that particular, within this particular profession. And then finally, things are changing in the world. In the time period and the era that we're in, things are ever changing. And being equipped is key to navigating all of that, right? So we all navigated the pandemic, whether you were a business owner through that or not. Sort of some had rocky roads, some had smooth roads. There's just a lot of change in the time period that we're in. So this having these skills matter a lot. With that being said, let's do a temperature check, especially in your leadership journey. What is your biggest business joy? And I want you to think about what's your biggest business pain. What's been your biggest joy? And then what's been your biggest pain? I'd love to see those responses. Because in the midst of all of it, I hope that you're getting enjoyment. And I hope it's less pain. But what has been your biggest joy and what's been your biggest pain? Awesome. Interacting with clients. Okay. Having clients feel empowered. Awesome. Yes. Being with the customers, the technology. Okay. Invoicing. Okay. Leaders starting yourself off to the future. Awesome. Working on clients, having employees on both sides. That's awesome, Linda. Seeing clients succeed. Exactly. Because we're in business to help people. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. Sending you love, Esther. And I'm glad you got through that moment. The greater things coming. Connecting with people. Okay. Seeing the girls start their things, pivoting. Something's not working. Yeah. That pivot can be painful at times. And I hope that turns into some sort of power for you and purpose. Okay. Right. So there's, not necessarily a mixed bag, but there's joys that come with this, and then there are pains that come with that. And so again, hopefully these three skills will help the joy keep going and mitigate and minimize the pain, right? But there's always, like I believe, there's always purpose that comes out of pain, right? And that it'll give you more power. So let's look at the first one, agility. If you have ever seen one of these bendy man toys, sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're red, then you know how flexible and movable it is, right? His arms can bend this way, his arms can bend that way. We may feel like that sometimes with all the things that are on our plate. Being flexible and nimble and having agility is key to helping us manage and lead through these changes that come. And then that shift that comes from being a CEO to a business owner. You may wonder, well, what's the difference, right? The CEO is a business leader. How is it different? Well, CEO is technically a chief executive officer. Business leader includes that along with chief encouragement officer, along with chief culture officer, along with chief financial officer, and again, all the other hats that you wear or will wear as you grow. And agility is needed with all of those hats so that you don't lose yourself, that you don't lose your work. So let's look at how we develop that and how we maintain it. So, to conceptualize this for you all, we're going to look at three different types of agility. The first one is inner. That includes your emotional EQ, your emotional intelligence, our ability to manage our emotions. It includes your structural agility. I want you to think like Legos, right? Building blocks. They're essential to creating a structure. They're essential to creating your business structure that houses the thing, right? How are you even getting the work that you're doing done? And keep in mind, you can move the pieces, right? You can move them around. The structure can change, but those pieces are important. So those are the things that stabilize us, and they stabilize our business, regardless of whether the structure may the actual thing may change, right? Kind of like bricks even in a building. And then finally, operational agility, which also includes strategy. This is how operations actually take place. So let's start with inner agility. I love how in this article about leading with inner agility, I found that the author shared this aha. It was too good to look over. It was too good to look over. It says the problem isn't the problem. Our relationship to the problem is the problem. Think about that. Often in life, the problem isn't the problem. Our relationship to the problem is the problem. A key to us really navigating and maintaining a sense of inner agility and your head and your heart and your mind is how we define what a problem is, right? And then whether we have the tools or resources to actually solve that problem, whether, if that's within you, if that's outside of yourself, um, and simply what our response to that is. So we need to start with how do we look at what a problem is? Because more often than not, we're dealing, even if you're helping a client, you're helping them solve something, right? You're helping them do something. So how do you define that? And then how do you navigate that? So here's some ways that we can do that. One, understanding in some cases, situations and circumstances, change is certain. We have to first understand some people, you have a certain routine, you like things a certain way, and there's nothing wrong with that. I get that. I get it. But there needs to be an understanding, especially again during this time period, that in some cases change is going to happen and it's going to be certain. So we have to teach ourselves to be comfortable and have a creative relationship with uncertainty. That's vital. We have to train ourselves to have a comfortable and creative relationship with uncertainty. That may seem like an oxymoron, right? Because for some people, uncertainty is very uncomfortable. But if you train yourself to say, okay, what am I doing? What kind of, what can I do to navigate this uncertainty? You train yourself to do that. Whether that's the pausing, right? Whether that's the pausing and the breathing and then thinking through it. It's extremely important, right? And then secondly, paying a little bit more attention, knowing and learning your self-awareness, your people, your team awareness, and your environment. Again, your environment, even with all the weather, and I send peace your way for those who have something brewing out there. I send so much peace your way. I'm originally from Louisiana, so I understand the hurricane situations more than I would love to even be able to empathize with that. I get it. Pay attention to your environment. What do you need to know about each other? What does your team need to know about you? What do you need to know more about you? Is it time for you to outsource? If you are a one-woman show, is it time for you to outsource? If it's time, is it time for you to think a little bit more creatively and connect with some strategic partnerships, right? So pay attention to those things. What don't you know that you may need to know? In an article in McKinsey and Company, they call this embracing your ignorance, right? Ignorance is not necessarily bliss. So it's good to embrace it. What don't you know that you may need to know? And then finally, to help with that inner agility, that peace in your mind and that peace in your heart, sometimes you have to think, okay, I need to have planned flexibility where and when. It's kind of like if you're playing in a sandbox or if you're in a play area, there are boundaries. Just in, if you have children or if you work with children, you'll tell them, okay, you can play in this area, but don't go past that fence or don't go outside the line, right? You have all the leeway inside the space, but just don't go past that boundary. It's like that sometimes with our time and with how we look at things. We have to think about, where do I need to exercise planned flexibility and when is it appropriate? Okay. When is it appropriate? Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Esther. And I love how you all are sharing it often, but I really believe the answer is often in the room that we need, that people are seeking and looking for. It's often in the room. Equally important with navigating change and uncertainty is to understand you need to know what your anchors are. What steadies you? What steadies you? What stabilizes you? What steadies your team? Or what steadies the people that you work with? Or sometimes the people that you collaborate with? And what steadies your again, your environment plays a big part. So what steadies that? So again, embracing the things that change, that are uncertain sometimes, that require creativity, innovation, but also having a good grasp on what steadies us is extremely important to know and to grasp. And that's true for the other types of agility. So let's look at those other two types of agility. Now, structural agility. If you take a look at this boat, what is awesome, if you've been sailing or if you would like to go sailing or ever been out in the waters, is how a boat is made is what helps it move, just like any transportation, right? It is designed and built to move in water and not necessarily on land. If you put a boat on land, it will just sit there unless it has some kind of cool awesome mechanism like wheels or something. It will just sit there because it's designed to be in water. And so structural agility speaks to how what we have in our businesses helps to form the work, what allows the work to flow. It's sort of like form meets function, right? Structure enables the flow of things. So the materials, the shape, the design. If you have a technology company, or if you have I believe somebody here has it's a wedding company I saw, or an event planning company, you are going to have different things that help your work get done. What the technologists that astrophysicists may need is not the same thing as an event planner would need, right? It's not the same as what the person would need who works with the young women. It's not the same thing. And so you want to make sure that you're keeping a gauge on what is it that your organization or your business needs that helps it to work and allows things to flow. And when do you need to shift, or when do you need to pivot? So consider often, whether it's monthly or whether it's quarterly, just doing a quick check-in. Even if it's a 30-minute meeting with yourself or with your team, and look and review the design that you have. If you haven't determined your design, think about it. What's your design? And then where do you need to adjust or readjust your design? Those things matter. And when do you need to switch or change up? If you are, let's say you're growing. I've seen this with clients. I've worked with people. It's happened to myself. Started building a team, right? You go from needing one account, right? To needing two accounts, to needing perhaps three accounts if you have a certain software. Things like that. Think about when you need to adjust to say, okay, this software is working for our customers and clients when they schedule their appointments, but this software is better as we're growing. So you want to, again, whether it's monthly or quarterly, you want to make sure that you're scheduling time to review your design, because you want to be able to flow as best as possible. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Kate. Kate has to use it as a checklist that helps to drive the structure, and that's really good. That's really good. And I believe that will facilitate a level of grace and ease, just to kind of review that checklist. Hey, we're here, we're there. And then if you need to add to that checklist as things change, you can, right? Another thing you want to consider with structural agility is communicating your values and your principles. That's very key, um, in your structure. That includes outlining any policy and procedures. And even if you are a one woman show, you still want to have policy and procedures in place. You still want to have something in place. Um, just, even document it, or even if you take a video, or make a document of it, you still want to have those things in place. They help tremendously. Which also lends itself to the final thing here, and in knowing that it's crucial to know when to have contingency, crises, and continuity plans. The difference between those, contingencies in the event of, right, unforeseen thing. There's a hurricane coming. What is the plan that you're going to do to keep things growing? On crises is a little different from contingency. Crises more intense. Some would call a hurricane, sort of a crisis, but more intense, more of a difficult, situation. And then your continuity. Sometimes you can plan for these things, whether it's a pregnancy, or let's say you're getting married and you need, you want to take off, or you've had a loss in the family, or you're planning a succession. Those are the different types of things that you want to plan for, and have as a part of your structure. At least have a draft of that. Again, I really believe it's better to have a plan than to not have one. Even if you don't use it, at least you have something that you can go to. And even if it changes, you can have something that you can go to. Okay. And then finally, we look at operational agility. This has to do with the continuation again of who facilitates the work. So think that inner agility, extremely important, and structural agility, extremely important, and operational agility, important. Who facilitates the work and how is it getting done? And now a lot of that starts with first getting to know yourself and your team if you have one. Find out their strengths and areas of growth, and often reassess your strengths of growth. If it's through a formal assessment, if it's through something informal, you could do something very informal, like a 360, where you ask yourself and ask a couple of people that hey, what do you think I do really well, and where do you think I can grow? Where am I glowing and where am I growing? Ask them that simple question. That's a quick way to gauge, um, how others perceive you, but also and check in with yourself. Check in with yourself. Where do you think you're really glowing in business? And you can apply this to other areas. And then where do you think you need to grow? It'll help tremendously. And then finally, operational agility also includes strategy. What are your go-to strategies and ways of doing things? Okay. When do positions or role needs to change? When do you say, hey, I really am done with the marketing of my business, or I'm done with this tech part of my business, and I need to bring in, or outsource or get some support from a technologist, or I need to find a better invoicing system. When do those things change? When do those move? When do those shift? All of that's a part of your operational efficiency. How do you capture feedback? Right? Even if it's from other business owners, if it's from clients or customers. And then how do you address to those growing pains? Right? Give yourself grace here. Give yourself grace. And if you're in a good, steady place, that's good. Because I do believe in maintenance. And I'm glad that you all do too. There are things that you want to maintain. If you're in a very good place, you want to maintain. You want to maintain that good place. And, growth is probably inevitable, but you still want to maintain that good place and space that you're in. All right. Second skill. So that's agility. Second skill, adaptability. So just like that boat, was designed to be in the water, not on land, that boat can move in different environments and be in different conditions and in different weather. So we need to be able to adjust to new conditions. I sort of alluded to this in the beginning and when we're talking about agility, but I think it's important to distinguish agility from adaptability, right? It may be a small difference, but it's worth separating the two. So considering the inner structural and operational agility, or some people will call being nimble or having dexterity. Remember, there's a level of stability that comes with that. Adaptability is being able to adjust to those new conditions, right? So the bendy man, remember him, he can move. He can move his arms. We can move our arms. The adaptability that comes to the bendy man is that you can put the bendy man in your office, on your desk. The bendy man can be outside in the baby's treehouse or your child's treehouse. The bendy man can be on the kitchen table or sometimes on the floor, right? Bendy man can be on the floor. That being able to move and navigate and having that nimbleness, but in different environments is extremely important. And those of you that may service your clients and customers in their spaces, if you go to them, you may see this at work, right? You still have a standard procedure, you still have standard ways that you do things, but as you're engaging in different environments and different things. So, three essential characteristics here that were discovered during a study that are important to grasp and maintain. One, proactively manage your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Please do that. And I believe I saw somebody who shared their faith here. Hearts to you. Please proactively manage your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. It's extremely important. Seek it and schedule it. You have meetings, you have client calls, you have time to work in your business or on your business. Please make time for you. If you take the 24 hours and you sort of map your day, I want you to just consider doing this over the next week. See how you're spending your time. If you get a good 6 to 8 hours of rest, that's awesome. Some need less, some need more. And then look at the rest of the time that you have during the day. You may work an 8-hour day, you may work a 10-hour day. There's still another 6 to 8 hours that's left. What are you doing with that time? Right? So seek that management of your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, and then schedule it if you need to. Like, okay, this is the time I'm going to work out. This is the time I am going to read and study and have reflection time. This is the time I'm going to spend with my family, right? Schedule it, seeking and schedule it. And then, of course, that's not to be rigid, but it helps. It helps you get into the groove of things. Secondly, you want to cultivate habits of a lifelong learner by seeing the world as a laboratory. I love this quote. As a laboratory, not an exam, right? Some people think we're living life by we're always under a test. That comes with some pressure, some unnecessary pressure. And just again, my opinion, my humble opinion, it comes with some unnecessary pressure. And so, with the right mix of learning mindset, such as a beginner, growth, and exploration, when we see the world and see our life and see certain things as a laboratory, not necessarily exam, it eases the pressure off of you. It gives you less stress and more grace as you make that transition from CEO to business leader, right? You have space to grow, just like the adapter that we see here. We sometimes need to plug into devices, and we sometimes need something that may not necessarily fit, but we have to adapt and change it, right? We may have to connect that cord to that little small adapter so that it can fit and plug in and work into whatever device. So we just have to pay attention and engage when we need to do that. So maybe that's a change in your diet. Maybe that's a change in your exercise routine, because being healthy, healthy is possible. And I believe that your business success should not come at the expense of your health. It shouldn't come at the expense of your health, right? Perhaps that's a new team development activity. We offer a variety of those for you. So you want to cultivate those habits of a lifelong learner and seeing what you're doing as a laboratory, not necessarily an exam. And then finally, you want to nurture relationships and teams that promote well-being and learning, right? That might be who's the catalyst for psychological safety, or who is the catalyst for timekeeping, or who is your accountability partner. Accountability is not a bad word. It's just who's helping you make sure you get stuff done that you want to commit to. Who's doing that for you? That's all of that's going to help. You want to make sure you nurture those relationships. What I do caution, would encourage you is to keep showing up for things like this. Keep showing up for spaces and places where you can connect, because as a one woman show, or perhaps a small team show, it can be easy to get caught in a silo. But you don't want to do that. Or it can be easy to just be constantly servicing clients. And every now and then you need somebody who you can relate to, understands that CEO founder, who gets that founder life, who gets that CEO life, who gets that entrepreneur. who gets the supporting the CEO or founder. I know there's some of you that are here, our future CEOs and founders. You want to make sure that you're nurturing those relationships. Okay, those are key. All right, so a couple of final things when it comes to adaptability. To think about, again, reflective. What do you know? Again, about you, your team, your operations, your vision, even your strategy, even. What do you need to know? Or what might you need to know? If you know something's coming down the line, right? There's a big event, there's a big conference, there's a big something coming up, you have a big client coming up. What might you need to know? And then once you figure that out, what you want to do is reinforce the right things and then measure. You want to measure. Is this working? Is it effective? And then, where do we need to shift and change? It says what gets measured is what gets done. But I also believe what gets measured is what moves the needle. Is what moves the needle for you, for your clientele. Right? So, with that being said, agility and adaptability. The final skill looking at is active listening. This cartoon cracks me up. If you see the one lady, she says, "Do you even hear the words that I'm saying?" The response from the other lady, the ones I like, right? The ones I like. This speaks sometimes to our selective hearing, right? And our need to develop active listening, but also the need to filter. We won't get into that right now. Sometimes we need to filter. By definition, active listening is that's your dog. Being able to listen well and showing others that you're listening and understanding them, right? That you're listening, not just listening. I hear what you're saying, but I'm understanding what you're saying the way that you intended for me to understand what you're saying. Extremely important. So, couple of ways that we can develop and sharpen our active listening skills. Again, if we think about that boat, if you were on the boat crew, like on the boats we've seen, you probably could imagine how important it is to be able to communicate well, right? So, if a boat's moving, we need to know where things are, how to turn things on, how to move things, where to throw an anchor if you need to throw an anchor out, right? Where to throw the life vest or the life raft if you need to throw that out. What's in the surroundings? All that extremely important, and being able to actively listen is key to making sure lives are safe. It's key to making sure that things still move. And so us being able to do that well will help us in our businesses, and help us continue to go and grow. So the first key again is listening to understand, just like in the comic, listening to understand first and then to respond. Before you get your piece in, while you're talking to another party, while you're talking to someone else, make sure you truly understand what they're saying. You want to understand what they're saying. And even if you have to ask them to clarify, and you want to make sure, go that extra mile. You want to make sure that you are understanding what they're saying, how they want you to understand what they're saying, or how they're communicating, right? Another key to active listening is being mindful of cultural, generational, and other demographic differences. Understanding this may impact, and it does often, the interpretation when you're communicating with somebody. So, if you're engaging internationally with somebody of a different culture, even if you're just in the United States, if you're from, whether you're from the South or somebody's from the East Coast or somebody's from the West Coast, sometimes there are Midwest or up North, there are different differences just even within the United States itself. We want to be mindful of that. We want to be mindful of, again, those other demographic differences, and get clarity. Get clarity always. Get clarity always. A lot of offense, I believe, can be avoided if we just stop, press pause, and just ask for clarity. Ask for clarity for something. And then again, finally, you want to ask for that, make sure you're on the same page. Two people can hear the same thing and have two different understandings. You can hear the same thing and have two different understandings. So you want to make sure that that clarity is king, that clarity is queen. And you want to make sure that you're getting a full understanding, and then respond. And then respond. And then asking the other party, do you understand what I'm saying? If they need to paraphrase it for you, they can as well. That helps. Okay. So as you think through these things and how to put these skills, agility, adaptability, and active listening to use, remember to implement at your pace. If you can commit to doing one thing within the next 48 hours, and then scheduling something that you can implement within the next 1 to 2 weeks, you should see a big move in your life. You should see a big move in your business, and that should move the needle where you need the needle move, or it should help you maintain where you need to maintain. Right? So commit to doing one thing that you've learned from here within the next 48 hours, and then schedule something for the next week or two. I'd love to hear what those are in the chat. If you're willing to share them. What are those things that you're going to commit to within the next 48 hours, or something that you can do within the next 1 to 2 weeks? And we'll take it from there. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for showing up for you. Thank you for showing up for others. Don't hesitate to reach out. There'll be some gifts that are coming from for you after this as well. And those of you who need assistance, if you would like an executive or leadership coach, if you would like a speaker, trainer, facilitator, if you mention this particular webinar, you can receive 15% off of any first time service. So just mention that and we'll get that for you. But remember that shift from going from CEO to business owner requires those 3 skills, and you can do it. You can do it. Just pace yourself. We're open for any questions.
Thank you, Ashley. This was awesome. We did have a couple questions come in anonymously. So
Okay.
one of those was, how do you, I know you touched on work-life balance, and the question is, how do you create work-life balance?
Oh, good question. Um, I believe in making the most of my time. And so I have meetings on Sundays, sort of some informal. I might be watching a football game and I might have my planner and my journal, but I'm still meeting with myself and I am reviewing what needs to happen for the week. I'm mapping out my schedule. I'm looking at priorities. And I make sure, like I share with you, I make sure that there is time for those specific things. I make sure that there's time for that. Whether, okay, I'm going to watch my show, I'm going to watch my movie, or this is, and setting boundaries as well. That's another thing. Cut off times, especially on Friday. Friday, if unless I have something that I'm working on Saturday, Friday around 5 or 6 o'clock, I'm not. Work is over. Business stuff is over with. Unless it's something that I have maybe perhaps on Saturday morning. But other than that, business stuff is over. So I make sure that I schedule even my downtime. Make sure I schedule my downtime. And then often, as I mentioned, often reassess the use of time. And am I setting the right goals? Am I setting the right goals? And then is my time going towards those goals? Always leave wiggle room. We want to be rigid. Always leave wiggle room for like those unexpected, awesome surprises and good things. Um, but you want to make sure making the best of our time. So that's how I do that. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's great. I did see something come in the chat. How do you drive the slow movers in your bus?
Ooh. Find out what's find out what's causing them to move at the pace that they're moving. Once you can determine the root cause, then the solutions can come. Find out what's going on. Why are they moving that way? Is it something is that who they are? Because people are paced differently, right? And when you're a CEO and a founder, we're used to moving. We're used to moving. And we're used to doing things that we do well at a certain pace. Find out what's pacing them in that way. And then if you need to have a courageous or crucial conversation with them, have that. But I would say approach it in with humility, with positive regard of I want to, I noticed a few things. Are you okay with, I noticed that this could be done better. There's a way to do it. The approach doesn't matter because you don't want to, let me see, I'll use the word offend, but you don't want to lose your slow mover. Your slow mover might be doing great work. And maybe it's just time for them to grow and to pick up the pace. And there's a way to do that. ask them, find out, you want to find out that root cause first.
Awesome.
Start there and then have that conversation with them. Okay, this is what I would like. How can we get there? How can I support you in getting there? Even if it's outside of you, how can I support you in getting to that next pace?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, if anyone has any additional questions for Ashley, please feel free to drop those in the chat. If not, I will go ahead and close us out today. Ashley, thank you so much for being here and sharing this information with us. For our attendees, this recording will be posted to the dwin.com video library soon. So be sure to check out this library for more inspiring content as well. Our next Member Voices webcast will take place on Tuesday, October 1st, and is on transforming your brand into a 24/7 sales machine with Avery Simone Liggins, CEO and systems strategist. Be sure to check out dwin.com for details and registration information. We have some great topics coming up in our Member Voices series, so be sure to watch your inbox for future announcements. Lastly, Dwin is looking for members like you to share your expertise, experiences, hard-earned problem-solving techniques, and lessons learned. We are seeking polished presentations or blogs that can be featured in our blog, Media Hub, or used in a live member webcast just like today. Dwin is taking submissions now until Tuesday, October the 15th. So get your submissions in. Please visit the Member Voices page on dwin.com for more information on how to submit. Thank you again for attending, and until next time, everyone. Thanks so much, Ashley.